Welcome to my channel. I'm Gary Wiryawan, and today we're going to do a comparison between the Olympus 12-200mm lens with the Panasonic 14-140mm lens. Let's go! Before we continue with today's video, if you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Gary. In this channel, we mainly talk about photography, camera, lenses. I mainly shoot micro four thirds camera system. And also sometimes I talk about music, home recording, guitar, rock metal, all that kind of stuff from the perspective of an enthusiast. I'm not a professional photographer or musician. So if you are into those kind of things and if you want something more honest, more authentic, you should probably subscribe to my channel. And if you want to support my channel even further because you like my videos, you could use the affiliate links down below on the description or use the super thanks button as well. It will greatly help my channel to be even better in the future. So now let's talk about these two super zoom lenses, the Panasonic 14-140 and the Olympus 12-200. So today is a video about the battle of two super zoom lenses. I'm very excited for today's video. For a good reason, because I've been using both lenses extensively this last few weeks and even few months. I've been using the Panasonic 14-140 and the Olympus 12-200 on my vlogs, where I try to challenge myself to not only talk about gear all the time like what I'm doing right now, but also going out, trying to shoot something, trying to create something with all the gear that I have, especially with these two lenses. You can check out my vlogs up here. And also I've been doing reviews about the Panasonic 14-140, my long-term review where I try to put my observations after using these lenses for so many years. You can also check out that video up here. And I also recently just made a review about the Olympus 12-200. This is actually not my lens. A very good friend of mine lent me this lens. I borrowed this from him. I'm very thankful for the opportunity of using the Olympus 12-200 because it opens up lots of different kinds of possibilities that I never have before in my micro four thirds camera world. And you can check out the review of this particular lens up here. But today we're not doing a full-blown review because I already made that reviews. And today I want to try to compare these two lenses. These two lenses are both super zoom lenses. They can zoom from wide angle to telephoto with just one single sweep. And they're very convenient and they almost fill the same kind of role in your photography toolbox. So I'm going to share my observation, my thoughts, which lens is better for what situation in today's video. Throughout the video, I will do a comparison. I will talk about each lenses individually, and I also will sprinkle lots of sample pictures during this video so you can check out what these lenses can do individually. And also this is very special for this video. I will do a comparison of sharpness test between these two lenses at different focal lengths, at different kinds of subjects, and at different kinds of distances as well, so that you can really understand the capabilities of both of these lenses in terms of sharpness. However, I must say that sharpness is not everything when it comes to super zoom lens. I need to mention this before. I don't want you to really think only about sharpness, but also about different kinds of things that these lenses can do, all of the different features, the different possibilities, what can you do with them instead of just relying on pure sharpness. By the end of this video, I hope you'll be able to learn more about these two lenses. So if you are in the market for a super zoom lens, you'll be able to decide which one is better for your own context, for your own situation, for your own needs. There's no real winner in this video. Both of these lenses are very good. They are excellent. They all have their own strengths and weakness. So you have to decide for yourself. And also this video is not sponsored by anyone. This video is sponsored by you, my viewers. I just want to say thank you for all of your support. All these years I'm doing these YouTube videos for a little bit of side hustle. Yeah, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate all of your views, comments, likes, shares, all that kind of stuff. It's just really great. And now let's continue with today's video. I want to first talk about let's talk about the 14-140 first, because this is my own lens, so I can talk more about this guy first. And then after that, I'm going to talk about the 12-200. First, the Panasonic 14-140mm f3.5 to f5.6. I already own this lens since 2014, so it's 9 years old and this lens is still going strong. I just really love this lens. I think this is the perfect embodiment of the original Micro Four Thirds philosophy. Small, lightweight, it's not really that expensive, but the image quality is good. So yeah, you can really say that this lens hit really lots of right notes when it comes to a super zoom lens. First, I just want to re-emphasize the size and weight of this lens. It's relatively small and it's relatively lightweight. So that's one benefit of the Panasonic 14-140 as a super zoom lens. Another benefit of this lens is that this lens has image stabilizer, power OIS right here, and the stabilizer works really good. I think in 2023 you don't really need image stabilizer on the lens anymore, because lots of the newer camera bodies now already have good in-body image stabilizer. However, the addition of dedicated image stabilizer on the lens is always a good thing, because sometimes if you're using older camera, your body image stabilizer might not work as well as lens stabilizer. And also this lens stabilizer can work in conjunction with the body stabilizer. So yeah, if you want to do slower shutter speed, if you're in a pinch, then you can really rely on the IS of this lens right here. So the lens has the aperture of f3.5 to f5.6, meaning if you zoom out all the way to 14mm, you'll get maximum aperture of 3.5, pretty standard. And if you zoom in all the way to 140mm, you'll get f5.6 maximum aperture. Also not really a big deal, not really that big of an aperture. However, compared to some other super zoom lenses, I think f5.6 at its longest focal length is still something that's really nice, because oftentimes super zoom lenses can have maximum aperture at the longest focal length at f6.3, like in the case of the 12-200mm that we're going to talk later, or maybe sometimes even f7.1 or something like that. In terms of weakness of the Panasonic 14-140, there are only two weaknesses. First weakness is that the reach can only go to 140mm, so it's not really as long, especially if you compare it to the Olympus 12-200. It's still impressive by itself, but again, when you compare it with some other super zoom lenses, 140mm is just average. And then the second weakness is closest focusing distance, which is impressive again by itself. But once you compare it with some other different super zoom lenses, then some other lenses can go even closer than this guy right here. Now that we've learned some things from the Panasonic 14-140, let's move on with the Olympus 12-200, and right away, the two strengths of these lenses, as you can already guess from what I talk about from the 14-140, is the ability to zoom in to 200mm. You got 60mm of difference, and that's quite significant in the telephoto point of view, because you can now start to go into ultra telephoto territory, wildlife, bird photography, all that kind of stuff with this lens, while at the same time you can zoom out to 12mm and you can get nice wide angle landscape, environmental portrait, all that kind of stuff with just one single lens. So this is the super in super zoom, if you understand what I mean. I'm making no sense right now. And the second strength of this lens, again as compared with the 14-140, is the ability to get really nice close focusing distance, especially if you want to photograph something small detailed like flowers. So this is almost like a pseudo macro lens. In terms of weakness of the Olympus 12-200, there are some, as we already talked about the 14-140, we've already made a little bit of comparison between these two, and the first weakness is size and weight. When you take a look at this lens in general, and when you compare it with other lenses from different kinds of camera formats, this lens is not exactly large and it's not exactly heavy, it's just standard. But when you compare it to other different kinds of lenses in the Micro Four Thirds world, then this lens starts to look big and this lens starts to sound heavy because it is for a Micro Four Thirds lens. But that's not without a reason. Again, the reach of this lens is really amazing. It's very impressive. It can go to wide angle 12mm, and if you zoom in all the way to 200mm, this is almost a wildlife ultra telephoto lens that you don't need to change when you want to switch from wide angle to telephoto. So again, that flexibility, but you sacrifice a little bit of size and weight. There's also no lens stabilizer with this lens. I think that is a missed opportunity, because if you zoom in all the way to 200mm, then shakiness will be a problem. Even if you have a camera with nice in-body stabilizer, I think a dedicated lens stabilizer can still really be beneficial. It can help a lot to reduce all kinds of shakiness and motion blur, especially if you're shooting at slower shutter speed, and yeah, we don't get that with this lens, so yeah, that's unfortunate. And then the other weakness is that the maximum aperture at 200mm is f6.3. Sure, it's not 140mm, but the bad news is that if you zoom in to 45mm, the maximum aperture already reaches f5.6, so it goes smaller rather prematurely. And if you zoom into about 140mm, that's already f6 or 6.1 or something like that. So yeah, this is not really that good for lower light situation. I found out that I have to crank up my ISO lots of the time to compensate for the slower aperture. So now I want to talk about sharpness comparison between the 14-140 and the 12-200. So I will share some comparison pictures between the 14-140 and the 12-200. But after some observation, I think the conclusion is that the Panasonic 14-140 is sharper at all focal lengths and at different kinds of distance from the lens to the object. And that's surprising, because like the 12-200 is more expensive, and the cheaper lens, the Panasonic 14-140, beat it in terms of sharpness. I was like, what? This is cheaper, this is supposed to be inferior, but that's the truth right there. This lens is sharper than the Olympus 12-200. This is more expensive, but yeah, when you're trying to make sense of it, the 12-200 again has a more ambitious design. It goes from 12mm, which is wider than the 14 of this lens, and it goes all the way to 200mm, which is longer than the 140mm of this lens. So it's not really that big of a surprise. So yeah, if sharpness is really something that is important to you, the 14-140 still beats the 12-200. Not by a lot, I must say. This is very marginal. You cannot really see it unless you zoom in. And again, sharpness is not the only important thing when you're deciding which lens to buy. And also there are other factors as well that can go into sharpness. Maybe it's sample variation, I don't really know, but that happens as well. Some copy of the 12-200 might even be sharper than some copy of the 14-140, so you have to be aware of that. So now let's talk about which lens is better for what situation. So now I want to end the video by categorizing these lenses. So I want to try to mention which kind of situation is better for each lens. First, if you travel a lot, you need a little bit of versatility. You don't want to switch lens too often, but you really need that size and weight reduction. Then I think your choice is the Panasonic 14-140mm. The small size of this lens and the light weight of this lens can really help you, especially if you travel by plane where you have that 7 kilograms carry-on weight limit. I think this will help you. This will not become an obstacle. It will not become a burden when you carry this lens when you're traveling, and you'll still be able to get good results with this lens, even though it's not as long as the Olympus 12-200 or as wide as the Olympus 12-200. If you need the ultimate versatility when it comes to focal length, you need that wide angle 12mm. You need to zoom in all the time to 200mm, especially if you have that tendency to zoom in all the time. And also you need something that is capable for wildlife scenarios when you're traveling. You don't really care about size and weight. The Olympus 12-200 is the answer. This is the king of versatility when it comes to focal length. This is your only choice. However, you cannot really go wrong with both lenses. Both of these lenses are great. They are really nice. I have lots of fun using both of these lenses these last few weeks, these last few months. I've been owning the 14-140mm for so many years, for 9 years as I mentioned earlier, and I got lots of nice pictures with this lens. I will continue to stick with the 14-140 as my own personal choice, but your needs might be different from mine, so maybe the 12-200 is your answer. But yeah, I love the 14-140 so much. The 12-200 is also a really nice lens. These last few weeks I've been featuring this lens a lot on my vlogs, and I have lots of fun zooming in and zooming out with this lens, getting lots of different kinds of pictures, whether it's wide angle landscape, environmental portrait, or even wildlife and bird photography with just one single lens right here. So yeah, choose whichever that you like. Your needs might be different from me. I hope you can understand more about these lenses by watching this video. And that wraps up today's video. So that is all for today's video. I hope that you find this video to be useful. Please comment down below what is your favorite super zoom lens, or the most versatile lens that you really like to use all the time. Also, if you have any question about this video, please comment down below as well. I will try my best to answer them. Also, don't forget to support my channel by liking this video, sharing this video, and subscribing to my channel down below. And if you want to support my channel even further, use my affiliate links on the description below, or use the super thanks button to make a small donation to my channel. It will greatly be appreciated. Thank you and see you on the next video. Goodbye.